So last week I chatted to you about the yamas and the niyamas, which are the do's and the don'ts of yoga. Yoga philosophy can be super duper confusing and you can get really lost in it. So I'm just going to be talking about it in a really modern and contextualized way so that we can sort of take these yoga philosophies and sort of move them into our real life. So today we're going to be looking at Satya, which means non-lying. So I think this one is, you've got your basic levels of non-lying and then you can take it a lot deeper. And just like ahimsa, so ahimsa last week was non-violence. And non-violence, we automatically think of like, don't kick, don't punch, don't poke somebody in the eye. But ahimsa, we looked at how we can do this in our yoga practice, how we can do this in terms of social media feeds, etc. So in all honesty, since we're talking about Satya, my background looks quite clean, but if you were to look around the room right now, it's a complete disaster. I'm not going to move things because everything is like balancing. But I've got all my laundry pushed to one side. There's a chest of drawers over there that isn't all tucked away. But if you were to look at my screen, you would see a clean background, and you would assume that I live a really clean and tidy life. Sometimes I try my best, but it's not always the case. So we're looking at Satya non-lying. So these is one of the sort of don'ts, so don't lie. It's a yoga philosophy. It's a stem from yoga, but it's something that we can really use outside of the yoga realm as well. So I want you for a moment to just think about how honest you think you really are. So just think about it for a moment, and to your friends, to your family, to what you show on Instagram, to what you put down for your taxes, all of these things. So how honest do you really think you are? So hopefully by the end of this video, you'll have a really good understanding of Satya and the link to ahimsa, okay? So non-lying and non-violence and how we can use these in our modern life. Okay, so let's get stuck in. So I want you to think if you do any of the following. Say that you're 2 minutes away when you've really just left the house, going to meet somebody. Do you post on Instagram saying you're somewhere really fun, fancy and exciting when really you're just at home in your PJs? I do this one all the time. Do you tick the box, I agree, and sign the thing before, and you just scroll to the bottom? So ticking a box without reading anything. Have you said you were fine when you were probably feeling like shit? Kind of do that a lot. I'm working on that. I don't so much express exactly how I'm feeling, but I think it's okay to say, yeah, I'm just not 100% today. Have you ever said you've loved the dinner that was served to you, but really you couldn't stand it? So if any of these ring a bell, that's fine. Okay, I'm not telling you that you're a big fat liar and you're doing everything wrong. But I think we need to sort of think about, do these lies matter? And there are all these like levels of lying, etc. So when does honesty, being honest about absolutely everything, just turn in then to being rude? So if you're at a friend's and they serve you dinner and you say, no, I really don't like that, I can't eat it. I mean, none of us would do that. Are we lying? Yes, when we say we like it if we don't. But, where do we draw the line? So there was a really interesting study done at the University of California that says that we probably tell around 200 lies a day. I don't know how that's possible. I don't even know if I say 200 statements a day. But they have done a study saying this. And then a University of Massachusetts has come up with a study that says that 60% of people will tell a lie in the first 10 minutes of meeting someone. Okay, in the first 10 minutes, you'll probably tell a lie. And I mean, it's probably true. Like, you don't want to divulge everything that's true about you. And if somebody asks a question, you might divert the exact truth and maybe not say exactly the answer that would be true. Okay, are we doomed? No, we're not doomed, guys. Should we just stop at ahimsa? Okay, I understand I need to not be violent. All of this yoga philosophy is getting a little bit too complicated. I can't live my life without telling little white lies. This isn't the case, okay? I think it's more about understanding this idea of non-lying and looking at, how we implement these and then the sort of intention behind them. So I'm going to talk a lot about that. So white lies, most of the time they can be harmless and that's just fine. It's the intention. The intention behind them is not to harm, not to hurt. And you often tell a little white lie to avoid an awkward situation or just to get yourself out of something you don't want to do. Hands up, okay, if you have ever told a little white lie because you don't want to go out and do something. Especially when the weather starts to go a bit crap, or if it's that time of the month and you're in your period and someone says, oh my God, do you want to come over for dinner? And you're like, oh, I've actually got a call with my great grandma over in, somewhere far away. It might not be true. And, chances are the person inviting you might know that it's not true as well. But we tell these little white lies because we don't necessarily want to say, you know what, I'm feeling lazy and I just want to sit on the sofa and eat a bag of crisps. That's okay. Either's okay. But it's all right to say, that you're not doing something. You got to toe the line here though, because what if you get caught? What if somebody finds out? So I read a book recently called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Sorry, Instagram, sorry, Facebook. And I thought it was really interesting. I don't know if I 100% agree with everything that the author says. But her point of view is that, if you don't want to do something, don't do it. If you don't want to go somewhere, don't do it. And, you don't worry so much about what everyone else thinks. In the book, she's not saying to just ignore everybody's feelings, but, we have to think about our maintaining of friendships and relationships and our family. And, to do that, there is a subtle amount of lying that probably happens. So I think there's a really interesting quote by the Buddha, and says that one should only speak that word by which one would not torment oneself or others. So basically, when you speak, when you speak your truth or any other words that you're saying, it needs to be words and truth that are not going to hurt yourself, and that might not be right then in the moment. That might be down the line, or anyone else, So we don't speak the truth that would harm anyone else or ourselves. So I want you for a moment to reflect back to the previous yama, which is ahimsa, and that means non-violence. And just think about for a minute, when does telling the truth or not telling the truth start to cross that line to becoming harmful or painful? I think ultimately, if you're living a life that isn't a Satya life, so you're telling lies all the time, you're going to start to weave this web that you can't get yourself out of. And that's when it's going to start to be harmful and painful. And you might not even notice it because you're going to be hurting someone who realized that you didn't tell the truth. And even if you say, you really like someone's haircut, and then you go to talk to somebody else and you said, oh my God, no, that red color that she's decided to go is just all wrong. And then that person finds out, it's going to hurt their feelings. So it's then really, again, bringing it back to that intention, which is what Satya is all about. It's the intention behind what we say. So there are two types of lying, two types. There's the lies of commission, so what do I mean by that? It's a deliberate attempt to deceive, this is like the bad one. We don't want to have lies of commission. This is a deliberate attempt to deceive. And there's a lie of omission, and I think we've all done this, only telling a teeny bit of the truth, so it's failing to mention something, and it's purposeful, it's not like, oops, I forgot. It's, oops, I forgot on purpose. So both of these types of lying are not okay, they can be really, really detrimental, and they can be a big issue, but lies of omission are more common, and if done with the right intention, are maybe less harmful. So this might be aging me, but a show called, a film called Liar Liar by Jim Carrey kind of puts all of this into perspective, and this ridiculousness of how we can lie or not lie, etc. So Jim Carrey can't stop himself from lying. Don't worry if you've not seen the film. It's a really basic film. Any film with Jim Carrey is quite basic, but he can't stop telling lies. So this, he has this thing happen, and then all of a sudden he can't do anything but tell the truth. So he's getting himself into all kinds of sticky situations. He's lost his ethics, and he's kind of prepared to do whatever it takes to get what he wants. So he's lying. And I think the film really looks at the treatment of this everyday process of lying and makes up a lot of adult communication. When we're kids, we don't lie. We tell the truth. And sometimes it can be really blunt. I remember when I went to South Korea, and I don't have the best of skin. I've got a spot here today. I've covered it up. So that's my Satya today. I've covered up my spot. But, the kids just point and say, oh, miss, you've got a spot. Oh, this, oh, that. And, they just say what they see. But as we become adults, we, oh, no, you look great. And you look like complete rubbish when you've gone out. So I think there's an element of what is socially acceptable to lie about, and that has become a lot of our social interaction. So in this film with Jim Carrey, there's lots of different kinds of lies that are examined. Things like outright lies, just complete and utter lie that's, complete bonkers, like if I was to say I had blonde hair, to manipulations and exaggerations of facts, to complete betrayals of trust and fibs. So all these different subversive levels of lying, okay? We're still talking about Satya here. So there is an element to the adult world needing lies. This film suggests that. But there is a deeper moral or ethical situation at hand, and this is needed, okay? So I think we're so busy in our lives that we often don't think about the intention behind the actions that we do and behind the words that we say. And that's what Satya is about. It's about stopping for a moment and looking at what you're saying and looking at the perhaps lies of omission or lies of commission and thinking about, okay, is the intention behind this right? Is it good? Is it moral? Does it stand by who I am as a person? And a lot of that comes down to, who are you? Like, what are your morals? Okay, so big picture, let's break it down into like something that we can think about. So let's talk about social media. That's a big one. And I want you to think about how often or what you're putting on social media completely true. How sort of Satyified is your social media? And I've been really trying recently to be more honest in the blogs that I write, more honest in the posts that I put up. But of the 20 pictures that I take, I'm probably always going to choose the one that, makes me look a certain way. Am I lying? Perhaps. Could I show the 20 pictures that took to get there? Sure. And maybe I will. Social media has taken a real trend. When sort of Instagram and everything came out, it used to be super shiny and slick and you'd never show the reality of things. But now, people are being a little bit more realistic. Things as simple as filters. I'm on a live right now with a filter, folks. Okay, I don't know how to turn the filter off, but if I could, I'd show you. It's just making me look a little bit more fuzzy on my face, and that's because I've been on holiday eating a bunch of chocolate, and I got a few spots from it. Okay, so again, that is me being a little bit Satya, a little bit non-Satya, but lying about the way I look. Okay, what about politics? Big election coming up. We've got all this stuff going on with COVID. What's the truth? What's not the truth? I would say 100% don't get your truth from Facebook, okay? There's no Satya happening there. How does diet culture fall into this? Like all of these messages that we're getting from the media, how much of this is true? How much are, there's lies of omission. Yeah, eat lots of this, but, they're not saying the sort of negative things that will happen. For example, intermittent fasting. Harriet and I did intermittent fasting probably 2 years ago, quite intensely, like really intensely, getting to quite high fasting periods. And because of that, speaking of periods, we sort of lost our period and it really affected our fertility. But no one was talking about that. Everybody was saying, oh my God, you'll lose loads of weight. It's really healthy. It makes you feel energized. But we lost, another part of the function of our body because we were intermittent fasting. So that wasn't told, and only a specific, a very pinpointed part of the truth was being told. So I want you to think about the lies of omission, okay, to avoid someone else or to avoid hurting someone else. Okay, you might think that's being ahimsa, and it's probably, part of it is. There is this real tipping point with, I'm not gonna tell that person that because it will hurt their feelings. And there's nothing wrong with that if the intention behind it is good. So I want you then to think about the lies that you tell yourself, okay? This inner critic. So when that inner critic is going, and that imposter syndrome is going, like how much of that is true? How much of that is harming you or hurting you? And can you sort of stop that inner critic, that imposter syndrome that's screaming and just say, actually, this isn't Satya, this isn't the truth, and this is harming me. And just get it to shut up. It's these sort of deluding ourselves. And then you could look at the opposite, actually. So, and I want you to think about if this is bad or not bad, but this constant idea of being hopeful. Okay, where you just keep telling yourself, no, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Next month, COVID's not going to exist. Next month, I'm going to get pregnant. Next month, I'm going to win the race. And you could say that there is a level of sort of lying to yourself here. Or you could say, that kind of lying's okay. It's good to be hopeful. It's good to have a positive mind frame. Everybody needs a pair of rose-tinted glasses every once in a while. If you look at high performance athletes, okay, they constantly visualize themselves winning races. Their coaches are bigging them up constantly. And this is a form of sort of lying. It's whether it's lying because it's not happened yet, but there is a delusion involved. But there's so many studies that show that this kind of positive thinking, this visualization, then helps to kind of bring better performance by those athletes. If this idea, if we believe it, then we can make it happen. So this manifesting and visualization is really trendy, and there's a good reason for it. It's used also by therapists and coaches. If you've ever done a bit of therapy, or if you've ever done a bit of life coaching, this idea of visualization is used. So, if the intention behind it is a positive thing, then yeah, let's do it. It's not saying that every single white lie is a bad thing. It's looking at the intention behind it. So positive affirmations, okay? Today, positive affirmation, for instance, money comes to me easily and freely. Okay, so I wake up in the morning and I want to tell myself that because I've got this limited lack of abundance mind frame. So if you use those positive affirmations with other tools, then there's this idea that we can reprogram the brain, to achieve better, to love better, to improve our mental health. So go for it, do it if the intention behind it is good. So then I just want you to think about your yoga practice. So everything comes back to the yoga practice. In ahimsa, which is non-violence, we talked a lot about, stopping your yoga practice when you have to, knowing where to draw the line, not pushing yourself so far that you injure yourself. Okay, so how does this then link into honesty in our yoga practice? How many times have you been in a class where the teacher says, I just want you to be honest with yourself? And you probably just say, oh, shush, I just want to get on with the class. And the teacher's trying to get you to kind of look inside and tune into that intuition, to slow down, to only go as far as your body will let you. But to know if we're being honest, we have to be able to slow down and be able to tune in. Okay, so how often do you actually listen to your body? I've barely eaten today because I've been go, and my tummy is rumbling like crazy. You might even be able to hear it on the film, like I'm a movie star. But that's me ignoring those signals. And actually, before I jumped on the live, I probably should have had like a piece of fruit or something. And then, that would have been me listening. So, this is about letting the ego go, living a life that is non-harming and is honest. So you're doing Satya and you're doing ahimsa. So really it comes down to this idea of, can we decipher the truth that our bodies are trying to tell us? And this is really a skill in itself. It's this idea of proprioception, awareness, and this ability to tune in and listen. So if we hype ourselves up too much, then our pain receptors, these things that tell us about the body, are left being ignored, and we're more vulnerable to injury and harming ourselves. So I want you to think about Satya and ahimsa being like interlaced, this idea of intention. So if you want to live an ahimsic life where you're non-violent, you're non-harming to others, yourself, the planet, the bigger image, then you also need to be honest. You can't have one without the other. They have to exist. Okay, so we need to tune into ahimsa as we sort of tune into Satya. If we allow the two to guide each other and what we say and how we act and how we practice our yoga, then these white lies or these, omissions of truth then have a really solid, good intention behind them. So what I want you to take away from this is the two ideas of these two types of lying: lies of commission, where you're just out and out lying, and lies of omission, where you're just holding a little bit back. And I want you to maybe pay attention to the rest of your day. How much are you kind of hiding some of the truth? How much are you just blatantly not telling the truth? Or are there anything that you're just saying that is just completely not real, just completely not true? You're just pulling it out of thin air. And I just want you to think about the intention behind it. If there's just one moment in your day where you stop and you say, okay, I said that, it was a lie, but the intention behind it was to not harm someone, to not cause any pain, etc., then don't beat yourself up about it. If you do catch yourself saying a little lie that maybe isn't sitting well with you, isn't feeling good, then maybe just reflect on that and think about why you did it. You can come clean if you want to the person that you lied to, or, you know, the next day you're just going to try to do less of that. So hope that makes sense. Hope that's a little bit contextualized. If you've got any questions, guys, send me a message. If you're on Instagram, send me a little message there. If you're on Facebook, send me a message. But yeah, so we've gone over ahimsa, which is non-violence, and we've gone over Satya, which is non-lying. Have an amazing day, guys. Try to be as honest as you possibly can, and I will see you all soon.